So now let's quickly revise whatever we have learned in SOS, and then we'll proceed with geocoding, reverse geocoding concepts like that. Okay, which is going to help you, because geocoding basically is used, reverse geocoding basically is used to extract address from a latitude longitude. Okay, so that is basically reverse geocoding. You have a latitude longitude, and then from that you are extracting the address.
Yes.
Okay, so let's then see how that is done. So okay, firstly, to implement a location, what is the first thing that you need in order to implement location?
The core location.
Yes, the first thing is importing the core location framework. Okay, so core location framework has all the classes and APIs for our location services. Okay, then what next? Then we have to create an instance, a location manager, correct? So we'll create where location manager equal to cl location manager. Okay, and then here what we'll do, we'll create a function. So we'll say private func setup location manager. Okay, and then here in my view reload, I'll just call this. So anything from now onwards which you will do, try to put it in small chunks of functions. Okay, and then start making use of private and all also. So this function anyway, none of the other classes needs to access. This is only going to be from my view controller, so I'll use private here. Okay, so start using that. Okay, then set up location manager. For setting up location manager, the first thing I have to do is I have to set the delegate, right? So let's set delegate. Then I will say location manager dot, what is it? So we need to request permissions.
The user in the
correct. So we'll request permissions, and then we will say start updating. So once we start updating will only work when we have the permissions. Okay, if this is set to yes, then it will complain because it will tell you to implement CL location manager delegate. So let's do that. Let's create an extension, view controller CL location manager delegate, and then here we will implement did update locations. This is the function. Okay, so this is basically nothing but a protocol. If you'll go inside this function, that delegate, see, this is a protocol which is marked as public because this is part of the framework and all the integrating parties will be implementing it. So this is a protocol. Protocol basically means that any so if I'm creating a protocol, basically what I mean is any class which will conform to my protocol will have to implement all the required functions that are provided as part of this protocol. So let's say I'm creating a protocol UI table view delegate and UI table view data source. So UI table view data source has two required functions, self for and number of rows. That is why you have to implement these two, right? Then there are optional functions as well. So optional functions are, for example, in our table view delegate, or one of the optional functions are height for row at index path, for example. Okay, so that is also a delegate function that is optional. So you may or may not implement that, but all the required ones you have to implement. So if you see here they are mentioning as optional. It means that you may implement this if you are interested in whatever that this particular API returns. Okay, fine. So now I'll go back to the view controller, and here what is the parameter name of this function? Can you tell me for the did update locations, what is the parameter?
Which one?
For this function, did update locations, what are the parameters?
Parameters.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the function of the manager, and co-locations are parameters.
And locations.
Yeah, locations.
Location, what is the data type of locations?
The C location, CL locations data type.
No.
Array of the C location.
Correct. It is an array of CL location, right? So array of CL location instances. So now what we will do, because it is an array, let's first get the first element. Even before accessing the first element, what we should do whenever you are accessing an array?
Not getting, sir.
So when you are accessing an array element, if I'll tell you that Sneha, this is an array, can you access the first element? How will you access the first element?
Yeah, will be use the interpolation type annotation.
No, no, we'll use indexing, no? So either you
Okay,
can
index.
use
Yeah,
you can say 0,
index.
1 or 2, or just for
Yeah,
the first element you can just say dot first.
yeah, yes. Dot first.
But even before you access, is there something that we should do to an array?
Yeah, will be give the if extrinsic function will be used.
No. So what I'm basically asking is, let's say there is an array. You should first always check whether array has data or not. Correct.
Yeah,
So you
yes,
remember which array is empty.
yes.
So
Will be used in array empty
correct?
only.
And this is also based on usage. Okay. So
Yeah,
firstly, let's say I would like to in this particular use case, I want to fetch the first element of that location. So first I'll check whether locations is empty or not. So it should not,
yeah,
it shouldn't be empty. So locations, if locations dot is empty, and I'll say not, because
yeah.
it should not be empty. Okay, then I will say let
Location.
if let location equal to locations dot first.
So
Okay.
make it in font size.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Better.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Perfect. Then if let location equal to locations dot first, and then let's for now just print location dot coordinate dot latitude, and then let's print longitude. Fine.
Yeah,
Okay. Then because we have given this when in use authorization, we'll have to give here in our info, we'll have to add one more entry for permissions. This is required for
okay.
permissions. So I'll
Fine.
go down to privacy locations, and then I'll say when in use, this one. Okay. So I'll say SOS would like to access your location. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go back. Let's see what happens. Let's run. Okay, let's put a breakpoint. Okay, it is still loading. Just a second. Let's play.
But when we in the last time we were not given that set up a location manager, right?
Which one? No. So last time what we did, all these 3 lines of code, we put it in the view did load only,
Yes.
right? So now
Yeah.
this is what so going forward, we'll start modularizing our code. Okay. So for any particular set of thing, we will put it in a function. So this particular function is setting up my location manager, right?
Okay.
So just put all of these functions into all of these code into small functions, and each function also should not be very large. Okay, so divide. So every task divide it into function. You will find it very helpful when you will when you will do debugging, and then also when you will be writing unit test. Okay, so then you should not be actually putting everything in the view did load. Everything you put it inside separate functions. Okay, so now we have got the latitude and longitude also. Now from this latitude and longitude, how are we going to get the address, right? So that is basically my geocoder and reverse geocoder concept, reverse geocoding concepts. Okay, so then what we'll do, just like our this thing manager, we'll create another instance called geocoder. Okay, and then this will be my CL geocoder. And then if you can come down here itself, okay, yeah, fine, then here. Okay, so from any location object we can find out what is the lat long. Okay, so reverse geocoding, again, it is part of CL geocoder. So there is another class for CL geocoder which is responsible for these tasks. Okay, so then here I'll just remove this print statements, and here I will, let's start. So I'll say geocoder dot reverse geocoding. Okay, so see, reverse geocoding, and which is accessing which is accepting a location and then returning a completion handler. So here, let's expand this. Here, what we should pass here?
The locations.
Correct, location. So this is the location object which we already have. Correct.
Yeah.
And then completion handler. Let's spread. So completion handlers, closures. Have I covered closures?
No, sir.
Okay, so closures again I will cover in detail. So that requires some specific explanations. Okay, so all of this function, then you will understand. I will also explain how we can write our own closures. Okay, so that so when we'll cover advanced concepts, I'll take a separate session on closures. Okay, so for now let's understand that this is particular closure, and which has two parameters, basically our place marks array and error. Okay, so I say place marks and then error. Okay, and then from here we will then use these place marks to get the value. So I'll say, so whatever this reverse geocoder will implementation will complete, it will return in my place marks and or error. So if there is an error, it will return an error. If there is no error, it will return place marks. Okay, this reverse geocoding. So then what we'll do, let's so we have till now we have seen if let, and we have seen exclamation mark, we have seen double question mark, we have not seen guard. So now today let's see guard also, is one of the way of unwrapping optionals. Okay, so we will say guard let. Okay, and then we'll say firstly place mark equal to place marks. So we will try to do both. Okay, here we have done see, here we have done if let. Now here let's understand with, let's do the same thing with a guard. Okay, so you will understand both. So okay, what this line of code will do, firstly it will try to access my place marks first element. Okay, if it is able to access the first element, then it is fine. So then it will go to the next line, whatever is there in the next line. Okay, if not, it will just return. So this function is not really returning anything, right? So I can just return. If this function was returning anything, I have to return some default value here. So basically, if this function was returning integer, I would be returning return 0, for instance. Okay, but so this is basically what I can use guard let. So guardlet basically is used. So then there might be a question for you, that what is the difference between if let and guardlet,
Yeah.
right? So guardlet basically helps us with early check and early return. So what it will do, firstly for if let and all, it will check these, okay, and then if not, then it will go to this else part. Here we don't need that. Here what we are doing in this, here itself what we are saying, we are checking, and then if not, it is directly going to the return, and it is
Okay.
returning. So it is stopping that execution right there. Okay.
Okay. In the guard, we will not use the else in that,
No,
right?
yes. So we will use here else just
But
after this, and we'll return.
okay. Yes.
Okay, so this is basically how we use guardlet. So you should know both. You should know guardlet and you should also know iflet.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have done this. Now if the place marks has value, then it will come to the next line of code. Okay, next line again guardlet. So now from that place mark object will have all of those values, street number, whatever, city, state, zip code and all. Okay, so then one by one we can fetch those values. So let's say guardlet street number is equal to, now everything will take from place mark dot. So now all of these whatever like street number and all are basically from US reference. Okay, so a lot of things is something which is equivalent to our street or our area or our district, something like that. Okay, so for street number maybe, so we'll just use a couple of things that place marks offer. So maybe we can say so locality, sub locality, sub thoroughfare, thoroughfare, a couple of things are there. We will just use one by one as return. And then you will also see that how with using guardlet the code is so clean. It's the same thing if you have to do with iflet, you will have a chain of iflet, all of that. Okay, you will have a lot of brackets. So the code will be a much so if you have to unwrap a lot of things together, guardlet is better in that case. Okay, then guardlet, then street number we have, then let's say street name equal to place mark dot we have, what it was that subtotal, yeah, thought. Okay, then again here also, so everything is an optional because a particular location may or may not have these values set. Okay, so then city, then place mark dot I think there is city, place mark dot locality, yeah, locality, again return, then city, then state equal to place mark. So again, there are multiple things, you can just try it out. Okay, couple of things, and then I'll show you also what are the things. You see, if you do a command click, no, you will see all the list of values. See, locality, see, name, thoroughfare, sub thoroughfare, locality, sub locality, all of these are there. The postal code, like for our zip code. Okay, okay, this is also done, and then let's finally just use a postal code. Guardlet zip code equal to place mark dot postal code, then again else return. Fine. And then now this is something that you can club together and you can get an address. So here we'll use a string interpolation kind of a thing. Okay, so we'll say street number, street number. Okay, and then so firstly just let's add comma and all for that final address thing, and then we'll just print it. And then this is the address that we will actually use in our SOS application to send to our emergency contacts. Okay.
Yeah.
Plus, okay, then street name, then city, plus
Street.
state. Okay,
Zip code.
plus zip code. Fine. Now let's just print this address for now. Print address. Okay. Let's run. Done. This is what we have got. So this is a combination of, let's say, street number was B1, for example, and maybe one or the something will be postal code is zip code, and maybe for something it might not be there. Okay, so whatever is there, it will just add in our this thing address. Let's see for some other address. See, getting fine. Okay, so this is actually what something which you will use to send it in the SMS.
Okay.
Okay.
Only SMS will get it.
In SMS you will get the full address. So see, if let's say you are in distress in the our SOS application, that is a use case. You need to send your current location to your emergency contacts and also maybe to the nearest police station, right? So with lat long, it is going to be difficult for them to understand, right? So you may send lat long exactly, but you can also send an address. Okay, so this is why we are using reverse geocoding here.
Okay.
Understood? Is if so this code again we have done it using guidelet. Any questions we have here? Why are we using first? Why again we are using first? What is place marks? If anything is there, tell me.
Yes, why you are not using the if let? Yeah, better you told cardlet is will be written the else in the right if let.
Okay, so why are you not using iflet? So let's say the same thing if I have to do. Okay, what I have to
What
tell
a
me.
question. When we need to use the cardlet or if let, that depend which one is to put in the coding. I mean, if the both we can use or only one cardlet also use.
So let's say for example if you have to just unwrap one particular item,
Yeah.
then so there are again multiple different use cases for different. There are double question mark. Okay, double question mark you can use when you need to set it directly while using. So let's say street number and then like this. Here this you will use when you have a when you need it, when it is really small, just there is just one thing and you have a default value. So with this
Yeah.
question mark you'll always have to set a default value, right? If let
Yes.
if let we'll use when we don't really need a default value or something we are just saying that check nil. Usually if there is again just one or two, you can use if let. Okay, guard let again if you have multiple, if with if let there will be a chain of if let statements. Those cases you can use guard let.
Okay.
Okay, so then we have okay, and tell me any other thing.
No, sir, understand.
Okay, fine. This is fine. And then finally, let's implement that this one messaging part. So how this address part we will send in a message, SMS. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So then for this SMS thing, there is again for if you have to send SMS, there is another framework for that. Okay. So that
So
framework.
here,
Huh.
this purpose we are not using any storyboard in the design, right? Only we can write the code. We get the output in this in the messaging, right?
Come again.
No, here in this you told right in the what street number and street name, city that and all. We are that purpose we are not using any design storyboard, right?
Correct. So for none of these things you need a storyboard or any design. Our use cases when the user taps on that SOS button, then these things should happen. So this is why we will need that later. At a later point of time, we'll need some UI with that a button, and on click of button you can do this.
Okay.
Okay, but none of these things actually requires a storyboard or a design. This is just plain Swift.
Okay.
Okay, then so then again very simple. Let's just check how to send messages again. So for messages we'll use another framework called messages UI. Okay, which will actually create that so if let's say you are for any text, if you will use your phone and then there is a share option, and then if you will share and then there are multiple options, SMS, WhatsApp, right? And then if you select SMS, then a dialog opens with that SMS screen.
Yeah.
Correct, that dialog is basically handled by our message UI framework. Okay, so that you don't really have to work on that UI part. You can just you
Okay.
directly use the functionality. Got it?
Yes.
Perfect. So then let's go down. Okay, message. So then here, this is our address that we'll have to write. We'll have to send. Now we'll go back here and then we'll say function. Again, we'll use private function. Whenever you start a function, no, start with private.
Yeah.
Okay, and then if required, you can remove private. Okay, but start with private always.
Okay.
Okay, then we have private function, and then let's say send location in SMS information in, and also use readable function names, which actually tells what that particular function does.
Okay.
Okay, so it actually accepts one message which is of string type, and then it sends the location information. So this is basically location information, and then this will send in SMS. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So then, firstly, see, there might be an Apple Watch, there might be an iPod, there might be iPhone, iPad, or simulator. So there, for few devices, SMS is supported, and for few devices, SMS is not supported. Agree?
Yes.
So, firstly, we will before checking, before actually trying to access SMS and all, and before doing, firstly we will check whether it is possible to send SMS or not, whether the device supports sending SMS or not, right?
Okay.
So we will say if mf message compose view controller dot, and there should be, yeah, can send text. So there is an API called can send text, which actually tells us whether this particular device on which you are running can send text or not. So this is a simulator, right? This will be no. Okay, so then in simulator, if you run, it will not really come inside this line number 31. This one, this thing, we will write the code, we'll try to understand, and then we will test it on the real device, on my device, when we'll meet next. Fine. Okay, so then we have created this image mf compose view controller. We'll create that controller. So let's create a instance, and then our instance of this particular thing, controller, and then controller dot message compose. Again, delegate always whenever we are using a framework, whenever there are protocols implementations, we'll always use delegates, correct?
Yeah.
The same thing we have done for table views, we have done for location. So any framework that you will implement, no, mostly the basics will be same, the implementation style, method, everything will be same. It is very similar. Okay, then we have controller dot. So in the SMS, if I have to send you, what are the things that I'll need to send you an SMS? If I have to send you SMS,
Okay.
I will need your phone number,
Yes.
and then I will need what I have to set, correct, what I have to send. So there is something called body.
Okay. Cool.
What will body contain?
In the whatever we need, the phone number or address, something we need to write on the text, right?
Correct. So here, what I should write in body, in this function, I am accepting message, no, which I have to send. So what will be in the body? Message, directly message.
Message.
Okay.
Messages. Okay.
So whatever is there, whatever here, so I'll basically call this particular function from here. I'll pass the address. So whatever I'll pass, it should basically add that as a body.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'll say okay, the phone number we are actually going to fetch from contacts UI. So that is again a different framework, contacts. Okay, so for now, let's just put any phone number. Okay, and then we'll replace it once we implement phone book.
Okay.
Fine. So then we'll say controller dot, we have something called recipients. Okay, and then here I think if you are unsure about anything, no, just command click and go inside and see. As a recipients is basically an array of string, right?
Yeah.
So go back and put an array of string, because I can send same SMS to multiple people together, right?
Yeah.
So 7709. Okay, let's put some random 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, then this is also done, and then uh, finally once the controller is all set, we'll just have to present it. So just cell dot present, and then here you will say controller, and then animated you will say true. You need that animation of that presenting thing. Okay, so then this is it is simple, right? It is extremely simple. The first thing we'll check that whether device can send text or not. If it can send, then we will create an instance of our mf message compose view controller. Now we have not written this view controller. This view controller is part of our, tell me,
Yeah, controller.
this mf message compose view controller, it is part of
Message something.
message UI framework,
Yes.
right? So it is part of message UI framework. So then it is already part of message UI framework. We are creating the instance, and then we are setting the delegate equal to self. We will come here, and then we are setting the body, we are setting the recipients, and then we are presenting. That's all.
Okay, sir, I have one doubt here. Why not using for here data, sir, only for using the delegate on that?
It all depends on the particular framework. So for
Okay.
a table view, you have to mention that from where the table view will get the data,
Okay.
from which array, from how, what data will be shown. So it implements on how that particular framework and that protocol are implemented. In this case, it I don't really have to set a data source for my body. Okay,
Okay.
so what basically will be the data source for my message? It's just going to be some string which is message. So instead of implementing as a data source, they have added as a property. So if you see body, see, so they have created a property which is of type string. So instead of using that protocol for our data source, they are just adding it as a message thing. That's also, it's just depends on how basically that particular framework is implemented. Okay, then we have recipients, and then we are presenting.
Okay.
Fine, or everything fine here. It is
Yeah.
complaining about this one delegate. Why? Because if you go inside this message compose delegate, this one, this one has, I'm not sure if I go, okay, so this one actually has one protocol, okay, which we have to implement. So if you click here, and then if you tap fix, you will actually get, see, so this is what you have already got. But because it is a protocol, we'll go and add this as an extension, right? So we'll
Okay.
not add it here. So you can actually click there, you can see what is needed, and then you can remove that, and then you can put it separately,
Okay.
because anyway you will not be remembering all of this,
Yeah.
right? Okay, then this is fine. Okay, now what this function does,
Which one?
this function did finish with result.
Yes.
What do you think this function does? Okay, what is the parameter of this function?
Controller and result.
Result, right? So this
Yeah.
basically result is basically what it tells whether the message was actually sent, whether the message was cancelled. So there is a possibility, right, that if
Yeah.
the UI was presented, and then let's say I hit cancel, I did not send, right?
Okay.
So there might be multiple possibilities. There might be that there was some network issue, and the message was failed to send, correct? So there are multiple possibilities of that result. What can eventually happen when I'm composing and sending a SMS? So we'll handle that with result. Okay. So
Okay.
you might have seen, let's say if there is an error, we will show some alert, could not
Yes.
send SMS, right? So that will handle using result. So now we have seen if else mostly. Now let's use switch in our result case. Okay, we
Okay.
can do with if else also, but let's use switch to understand it better. So we'll say switch result. So this is basically what I'm running my switch statement on. Okay, and then I will add one by one the cases. So cases one is cancelled, and then for now let's just wait. SMS message, SMS was cancelled, and then maybe we can just like can ignore this particular case or handle however we want. This will be based on business requirements. Then we'll say okay, if the UI is already up. Okay, so this one you will only be able to understand when I will run it on my actual device. Okay, or I actually we don't need. Maybe I will set up my iPhone tomorrow. It's not charged. Maybe in tomorrow's session, I will set up that device also. So maybe here itself I will show you. I'll run it on the device directly and I'll show you how this works. Okay, so for now we will just dismiss it. Dismiss. Print and why it is not okay. Why not dismissing? Why not? Okay, not sure. Okay, I think it is said that. Okay, okay, maybe I'll check. So basically, we'll just dismiss that. Okay, and then we will see this dismiss when we'll run it on the actual device. Okay, and then we will add the code. Okay, then we have another case called failed. SMS can fail to
Yes.
send. Then we'll just try to print for now. SMS was not sent, and then we have finally one case dot send, and then SMS sent successfully. Here you can we will add a alert. Fine later. So SMS was sent successfully. Okay, and then I think this is it. Okay, I think this is it, and then finally we can just use a default. Got it? Got this? So so there is a delegate function again for your our message UI framework, and then this delegate function basically is our MF message compose view controller delegate, and then it has a function which is a delegate function which basically is an implementation of the protocol. The function is basically did finish with a result where you are getting this result object, and using this result object you can actually find out whether the SMS was actually sent or not, and based on that you can handle accordingly. Fine. So then this one is something that I will run it tomorrow on my device and I'll show you. Even the SMS thing I will send this particular location to the SMS. There's only one thing now, in just last thing, print address. Instead of printing address, we'll just send. Okay, what happened here? Let's build this. Why is it complaining? View controller, see location. Oh, not see location manager, I think. Yeah, this delegate. So this should go. Okay. See, expose this instance. Okay. I think this before. Okay. With every Xcode, actually, again, it keeps changing. So I think there is. Okay. Oh, no. Sorry. Ah, just a type extension view controller, and then this is our delegate. So view controller, and then mf compose view, and this one actually is not compose view. This is C allocation manager. Okay, I think this is fine. Okay, let's build. Fine, done. Just one last thing. Instead of print address, we will just now call our function, which is what is it?
SOS
Send location information. Send location information, and I'll say message.
messages.
Address. Sorry. This is where no we have this address stored.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll call this function and we'll pass in this address. Okay, let's build. And then because this is inside a closure, which we will see is in set.message. I think that's all. Yeah, our function. Okay, so then I think that next is going to be really important for you to cover some of the advanced concepts because we are actually using those. So closures is something that we will see in next session. Okay, closures, and then whatever you are seeing in the advanced, there are, I think apart from generics, I think you will need all of that going forward. Okay, so I think generics also maybe you will need it eventually, but maybe for now to proceed, I think that apart from generics, I think you need all of that what is listed on that advanced Swift thing. So maybe we will say tomorrow. First, we will start with Swift, advanced Swift concepts. Okay, then after we learn the advanced Swift concepts, then I will share you the interview questions, and then it will make more sense to learn and go through the interview questions. Okay, so then first thing for tomorrow we'll start with our Swift advanced concepts, then we will discuss a little bit about interview, and then we will complete this part. So here there is only one thing which is pending, which is again a new framework which is called a phone. I think it is phone book, so, or no, it is contacts. So there is contacts and contacts UI framework that we will implement, and then we would need a detail screen here. So the detail screen will actually is the screen where our emergency contacts will be added. Right, so we'll need that, right? So basically how this function will work, this function will have a launch, and then there is something, there is a corner button which says basically emergency contacts. You click on that, you can add emergency contacts. So let's say when you click on that button, you can see your phone book, and then you can add one or two or multiple numbers as your emergency contact. And then when you will hit on that send button or SOS button, it will extract your location and it will send SMS to all the emergency contacts. So this is the complete flow. Once we implement the contacts framework, then we will replace this part with the actual contact, actual phone number of that emergency contact. Okay, so this part is pending. So then in our SOS, we have to implement our contacts, and then we will, so maybe tomorrow session, we will complete contacts part and then Swift advanced concepts.
Okay, sir.
Fine. Okay. So can you do one thing? Can you finish